Imam in Johnson City, who is one of the community leaders, and we're here to ask him some questions that we've asked other leaders. So thank you, first of all, for agreeing to be interviewed.
No problem. Thank you for taking our time and letting me say a few words.
Great. So what we start with is, how long have you been in this broad area, Broome County or whatever? How long have you been here?
I actually was born here.
Oh.
Yeah, I was born at UHS, and my parents were engineers at IBM.
Okay.
So I was born and raised in this area. I went to JC High School. I graduated from JC in 2004. And then after that, I decided to go to divinity school or school for religion. And so I have a master's in Islamic law from Pakistan.
Oh.
And I graduated from my master's in 2011. And since then, I've been an imam here locally in Johnson City.
Okay. Thank you. And how long have you been at this location as imam?
I've been imam of this mosque going on 6 years now.
Okay.
Going on 5 years, excuse me. 2012 to
You're coming up on 6.
coming up on 6, yes.
Okay.
So I've been imam since 2012.
Okay. And we talk a little bit about this neighborhood. The health sciences reaches out probably to Floral Avenue and across to the tracks on the other side. What problems, if any, exist? What have you experienced or seen or observed? What are your feelings about this neighborhood?
This is not about the health science specifically, but this neighborhood
Yes.
is, I would say it's one of the underdeveloped neighborhoods in the area. There's poverty here. There is more crime compared to places like Ramsey Road or Carpathianville or even Vestal or Endicott. But that being said, there's a lot of positives of this neighborhood as well. This is why we, or my parents and the board, actually decided to build a mosque in this location. It's because it's centrally located of Broome County. Our mosque is a bit different than other churches in the sense that we don't cater to one demographic. Rather, we have people here from over 30 different countries and 30 different theologies and sections of Islam, right? So we cater to Sunni Muslims, Shia Muslims, and then all different types of Shias as well. We cater to people from all throughout North Africa, Asia, South Asia. We also have people in our congregation from Iraq, Iran, the Middle East, every country in the Middle East. So, and a lot of our congregants actually don't live in this area. They actually live maybe 10, 15 minutes away. So they come from Vestal, they come from Endicott, they come from Binghamton, or the north part of Johnson City, Carpathianville area. So we have our community or our congregation is actually split into two segments. We have either very wealthy to-do professionals who support our mosque, and then we have the hourly workers, blue-collar workers. Most of them live near the mosque, and that's the reason why we decided to actually build in this area, is because we wanted to be welcoming to everyone, whoever comes to our congregation. And so we do have a lot of Muslims who are actually buying houses in this area, and they're fixing them up, renovating them, and living in them. I would say within a 1 mile radius, we have over 100 Muslim families.
Say that again for me, please.
Within a 1 mile radius of our mosque, we have over 100 Muslim families. And I would say it's probably more. That's a conservative estimate. And a lot of them come for the prayers. They're part of our community as well. And so for most Muslims, when they look at real estate, they look at it as, how close is it to the mosque, right? That's their investment for them. So we have a lot of people who live near the mosque. So yes, even though it is underdeveloped a bit, or it's poverty-ridden, crime-ridden a bit, more so than the other neighborhoods in this area, it's centrally located, and it's a way that we can have everyone be part of our community.
Just a footnote, I did some work out in Santa Clara County in California. That's what you described as wanting to live close to the mosque is exactly what I experienced there.
And every community you go to in America, you will have Muslims who want to live near the mosque. Because part of our faith tells us we should come to the mosque as much as we can, and we have 5 daily prayers at the mosque, right? So you'll actually see over here, the next prayer is at 3:15, right? So we have a lot of Muslims who live nearby, and even those who don't, we have people who come every day to the mosque from 15 minutes away to come in and say prayers. You know? On Fridays, our building is actually full to the very end, and we actually have overflow, so we go downstairs to pray. So we have over, I think, about 500 people who come on a weekly basis to our community. And people are coming from 40 miles away, 30 miles away, because I think if you look at it, the closest mosque is 60 miles west, 70 miles north, maybe 80 miles east, and maybe like another 60, 70 miles south. Right, so we're kind of...
That's quite an expanse. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Now I'd like to come to the health science campus itself. You're aware of it, obviously. I don't know if you're aware of the numbers, but the projections are in about 2 years probably. If you include faculty, staff, and students, they'll be putting about 1,000 people on the streets here. So it's going to have an impact, obviously.
Yes.
And what we ask people to think about is both the positive, but also the concerning or potential negatives that might happen. But let's start with the positive. Do you think this will have an impact on the neighborhood and beyond?
Absolutely. You already see it in the low-income, affordable housing that's being built right behind our building. We've seen our property value go up as well. So I think there's a lot of benefits of having economic development in any area, right? Not just this area, but economic development. If you put in 1,000 faculty or 1,000 people altogether, that will help our neighborhood. Maybe more stores may open up in the area. Maybe more restaurants may open up in the area because there will be a demand for things like that. Right? So we do have a Muslim-owned business right across the street, actually, and they want to open a deli, but the village had told them that they're not allowed to open it past 10 p.m. Because of the crime in the area, so they don't want a late night deli. Right? So I think once a pharmacy school comes and low income housing comes, more businesses might be able to thrive more. And a lot of our community members who live near the area are blue collar workers or small business owners, and it will help them immensely.
Good.
Especially we have a lot of real estate investors or Muslims who have real estate businesses in the area. For them, I think students who want to live closer to the campus, it will help them as well be able to rent out their properties as well.
And let's now talk about, are there anything of concern with the health sciences campus?
I think traffic probably be the biggest one. Traffic is always an issue, but overall, parking might be an issue. We have right now, like I said, 600 people come here almost on a weekly basis. So on our Fridays, we are completely packed, and we actually double park because of a lack of parking. And we're actually in the process of talking to the city to get permission to park on Willow, where it's not allowed to park right now.
Yes.
We want to park on there just for Fridays for 1 hour during our services. But if you add another 1,000 people and very few carpool to work, right, in this area. So I think traffic would be an issue and just a rush. But overall, I think it will also make it more pleasant. I think there's a lot more positives than there are negatives. Families may want to go on a walk in this area now with the greenery and the kid-friendly, area that it is. Hopefully, you may even see a few parks in this area. Right? We have, of course, one on Floral Avenue and one on at the end of Grand.
Yes.
But hopefully, we see another one within walking distance here as well. Maybe that's something the village could do.
Good. So I'm going to skip to the village now and ask you. I think one of the examples you just gave are things that the village can do.
Yes.
Are there other things that you think they should be, or issues should be addressed, or problems corrected? You've implied a couple of these, but if you could be specific.
Yeah. So I think overall in this area, the village is doing as a really tremendous job with the police force helping us out and making sure that there's security in this area as well. Of course, it's not always perfect. There's always room for improvement, but overall, the village has done a lot tremendously in this area, I believe. And with the pharmacy school, hopefully, more business owners are coming in, renovating the area, making it look nicer. We still have a lot of boarded up houses, just across the street on Cherry Street, for example.
Yes.
We have 3-4 boarded houses. We have houses that are going, in the $20,000-$30,000 range at auctions in this area. Hopefully, those get fixed up, and we have a better, more neighborhood, kid-friendly neighborhood in the area because of the
Which means safety and
safety.
Yeah.
And not only safety, but amenities as well.
Yes. That's very good. I want to come back to something you said, which is really very interesting to me, and I want to get a feel for it, and that is, you talked about Muslim ownership and investment in the area. What kinds of things would you like to see as a Muslim person and representing a congregation? What kind of investments, you can say generally for anybody and everybody, but also for Muslim investors, how could they strengthen the community and the neighborhood?
I think for Muslims, the biggest concern is having a nice neighborhood to live in. We want the American dream, right? We want safety, prosperity, a house to own, but also in a nice neighborhood. And we also want it close to the mosque. And I think in this neighborhood, that's very hard to have the best of both worlds. So you either live in this neighborhood and you sacrifice, a yard, you sacrifice safety of your kids. You may not allow your kids to play outside or go for a walk on their own, on the sidewalks. But you can probably live, maybe in the suburbs like Vestal, etc., where you have, peace of mind by having your kids play outside and have a nice yard. But you lose out on the fact that you're no longer closer to the mosque.
So when we come back to the investment picture, would investment in housing, for example?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So I was getting there exactly.
Yeah, that's where you're going.
Investment in housing would be really nice. It would allow a lot more families to come here. In fact, we have a lot of blue-collar workers who are migrating from New York City almost on a daily basis here, right?
Interesting.
So we have a lot of people coming from New York where, paying rent upwards of $2,000 is no longer affordable for them. Working blue-collar jobs, so they come up here, they settle their families here, they buy a house here, they fix it up, they settle down here, and then they work Monday through Thursday in the city still. Right?
That's great.
So we have a lot of taxi drivers, cart
food cart
owners,
yeah.
Exactly, who will be there on the weekdays and then come up here on the weekends to spend with their families.
So do you see any kind of business investment, whether it be small business, which we're seeing happen around here now, small businesses or other kinds of businesses? If so, what kind?
There's a lot of small businesses run by Muslims in the area. There's a lot of restaurants in the area by Muslims. There's a lot of housing set up by Muslims in the area as well. I think that they will increase exponentially once the pharmacy school is up and running, as well as affordable housing is here as well. And hopefully we see more projects like the affordable housing as well.
Yes.
We have a lot more buildings that are still laying around.
Now, I told you about the feeling of attachment. You've been here. Now you're somebody who's born here.
Absolutely.
You went to school in JC on a ranking of 1 to 10, 1 being the least affinity or strength of feeling about Johnson City, to a 10 the most. Where would you put yourself?
Well, I was born and raised in Binghamton, in Johnson City, so I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That does not surprise me.
So I know a lot of my congregation, members actually know me since I was a young boy, right? So it's easier to relate to your congregation. It's easier to relate to this community. A lot of the people in the community know me. A lot of the interfaith work that we do with the JC High School are the same, guidance counselors and teachers that I've had that I'm working with. So it does help in that sense that you have a source of you were sort of already established in the area, right? So that helps out a lot. But there's a lot, in this area, there's a lot more work that needs to be done.
Yes.
Binghamton, and this area it's rated as one of the worst places to live in America according to Yahoo. And that's because our tax situation with New York City being so close and a lot of money being sent there, and then the way the city is also set up. So we have a long way to go, but I think we're moving in the right track with our developments.
Good. I teach about cultures, and so it's fascinating to hear these things from you. At the same time, I see more Indians moving in, many of them from New York City. So this is going to become a really multicultural community, which previously was European, but now we're seeing a diversification that I think is very healthy, and I hope we'll handle it well.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, my final question, and then you can ask me anything you want after that,
sure.
is you obviously have done very well here.
Thank you.
Do you see yourself needing to modify your plan for expansion or anything, given that you're going to grow?
Absolutely. Actually, we do have an expansion plan already.
Oh, good.
So we have a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan. So currently, actually, I'm not sure if you know this, but our building next door is becoming our community center. So we have in
this one right here,
this one
the
right
new
here,
one,
yes. It's actually done from inside. I think the flooring is left, and then the fixtures.
It's a nice building. We were looking at it. We thought maybe you'd be in there, but
that building is under construction right now.
Yeah, we saw the permit.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So our goal is within the next month or two to have it opened.
Nice.
And we have a daycare center in there. We have a library in there. We have a couple of banquet areas for people to use. We have an interfaith room in there, and these are based on the needs of our community, our congregation. And we do have a long-term plan as well to have a gymnasium and a community center built next to it. I'm not sure if you remember this, but a couple of years ago there was a huge 56,000 square foot building, 4 stories.
Oh yes.
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 And it was demolished because of asbestos.
Yes.
We were unable to renovate it within our budget, so it was actually cheaper to
Took a while to get that down too.
get it down.
Yeah.
It took a while to get it down, but we've gotten it down, and we're going to be building our 10-year plan is to have a community center with a gym, and lounges and different activities for the kids as well.
Sounds very good.
And then operational wise, we have a lot of I think we've started to build ourselves for the last 5 years, actually, since I've come, more as a community center, less as a mosque, right? So we are a mosque, we are a place for people to come and worship, but for Muslims, especially immigrants, it's also their social circle as well, right? It's the place where they socialize. So we have a lot of potlucks, we have a lot of social events, we do annual barbecues here, we have a lot of parties for our kids, teaching them about Muslim culture as well. And then we have a lot of after-school programs for kids, non-religious based as well. So we plan to do something like karate classes, tutoring for kids, other things like that. We have a book club here. We have other after-school clubs that we do. So our building is utilized a lot, and we want to expand to become a community center and less of a religious center.
Okay.
So we do have our religious services here as well, but it becomes we want to meet the needs of the spiritual needs, but also the social and economic needs of our members as well.
And again, if I may say, I think that's really important because of the diversity of people you're drawing from nations around the world. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So churches are very different because they usually deal with one theology, one sect, and one area, right? So you have like Greek Orthodox, for example, right? You have Roman Catholic.
Yes.
And we have churches in this area which are specific to just a certain group of people, certain European group of people, in a certain sense. St. James Parish, for example, right down the street here, is an example of that, right?
And you have the Polish and
yes, exactly.
in Binghamton, yes.
Exactly. We don't have that luxury because if we did, then there would be a couple of members in each mosque.
Right.
So we have one mosque that encompasses everyone, right? So it becomes a challenge sometimes to meet the needs of all of the different social needs of all of the different sects that we have. It is a challenge, but we do our best.
But it's a healthy challenge when
It
you're
is.
bringing so many people under the same tent, so to speak.
Yes. And there is a sense of unity that we have that I think other churches are still missing. And a lot of pastors, when they come here, they actually say the same thing, that it's amazing how united all of you are under one umbrella compared to the churches. There's a church on every corner. Right?
And many of those churches have a certain demographic as well that they appeal to, and many of them are in decline, as I'm sure you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Imam, this has been very informative. Thank you so much.